In 1924, Henry Gerber founded the Society for Human Rights. Since then, the homosexual community has grown in size and in political power. Gerber's organization was based on the homosexual rights movement in Germany. The purpose of the Society for Human Rights was to educate the heterosexual community about the nature of homosexuality and reforming the laws that criminalize homosexuality. Sadly, after only a few months of meetings and the publication of only 2 issues of Friendships and Freedom, the Society's newspaper, the organization was shut down because of the homosexual attitude of the time.
Thesis.
Since the 1920s, both gays and lesbians have been alienated from the majority of society.
After much hardship, conflict, and struggle, Chicago has compromised their existence as a prominent part of the city. Even though Gerber's Society for Human Rights was short-lived, homosexuals were highly visible in the 1920s. Mostly in the bohemian world of Tower Town, its unique name came from the proximity to the water tower. Chicago had its bohemian neighborhood, where artists, poets, and homosexuals lived and congregated. The visibility of lesbians and gays in Tower Town marked an important historical moment where there was an openness and acceptance of homosexuals in certain artistic and bohemian worlds.
Like many other American cities, the main struggle for homosexuals began after World War II, when lesbian and gay men followed the model of the Black Civil Rights Movement. World War II proved to be a contribution to bringing together many lesbians and gay men in major cities. This is because of the military mobilization for the war and employment in wartime industries. After the war, a small number of homosexuals organized themselves across the country in groups such as the Mattachine Society.
Chicago's contribution to the Mattachine Society that was established in the early 1950s is well known for putting together a vital handbook of gay and lesbian legal rights. Pearl Hart, a Chicago lawyer, was an active advisor of the Chicago contribution on this handbook. She was also one of the handful of lawyers who would take on lesbian and gay right cases in the 1950s. Along with Henry Gerber, she is remembered and honored today in the organizational name of the Gerber Hart Gay and Lesbian Library.
In the early 1950s, homosexuals created groups conjointly referred to as homophile organizations. The Daughter of Bilitis organization and the Old Mattachine of the Midwest existed in Chicago by 1955. These organizations attempted to achieve social acceptance and understanding of lesbian and gay men through educational efforts. The Chicago chapter of the Mattachine Society engaged in few overtly political activities and functioned primarily as a social group. However, in 1964, several gay men and lesbians, led by Robert Basker and attorney Pearl Hart, reconstituted the organization as a more politically active group in response to escalating police harassment at gay bars.
The Daughters of Bilitis, or DOB, as it was popularly known, was founded in 1955. It was part of what was known as the homophile movement in the pre-Stonewall gay rights movement. It formed the model for many of the later organizations for lesbian and bisexual women. The DOB was formed by 8 lesbians, including Phyllis Lyon and Del Martin, who began meeting with other female couples to create a social alternative to bars. One of the main priorities was to provide a place for women to dance together, since it was illegal for women to do so in public bars. The name was chosen for this work, Daughters of Bilitis, was taken from a lesbian-themed song cycle by a French poet, Pierre Louise. The name was intended to have no significance nor reveal who and what they were to the mainstream public.
The DOB was first a social club, influenced by the Mattachine Society. The DOB allied itself with the Mattachine Group and also a popular gay magazine of the time, One Incorporated, which was largely staffed and edited by members of the Mattachine Society. From this point on, the DOB became more politically oriented. The DOB hosted public forums on homosexuality, offering support to isolated, married, and mothering lesbians, and they participated in research activities. Both Lyon and Martin were invaluable driving forces behind the DOB's success. Martin was the first president, and Lyon became the editor of the DOB's monthly magazine, The Ladder, launched in October 1956. The two of them spent their free time and money invested in the DOB. The organization grew quickly and by 1958 had chapters in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Rhode Island, but never attracted the kind of numbers the gay male organizations did.
Robert Sloan Basker founded Mattachine Midwest in 1965 and began Chicago's first gay and lesbian telephone hotline. He started discussions with police amid arbitrary raids and arrests.
The new Mattachine Midwest monitored police harassment in gay bars, published a politically conscious newsletter, and by 1968 succeeding in securing the American Civil Liberties Union, also known as ACLU, support in defending gay men arrested by the police. This more activist-oriented Mattachine Midwest signaled a fundamental shift in how lesbian and gay men would organize politically.
Around the time of the New York Stonewall riots in 1969, lesbian and gay activists, like their counterparts in the anti-war and feminist movements, became more politically confrontational, dismissing more diplomatic and less boisterous tactics of older organizations like the Mattachine Society. The gay and lesbian community felt that the old ways weren't working and that it was time for changes. These new activists demanded that politicians, city administrations, the media, doctors, psychiatrists, and other individuals and organizations needed to stop harassing and demonizing gay people.
During this time in Chicago, Henry Weinhoff and other gay activists founded the Chicago Gay Liberation. Among its many local political activities, the Chicago Gay Liberation is mainly famous for its disruption of the 1970 Chicago meeting of the American Medical Association, also known as AMA. At the meeting, Weinhoff and other activists handed out a groundbreaking pamphlet which declared homosexuals quote-unquote healthy. The pamphlet also challenged the then common belief that many doctors and psychiatrists at the time had about homosexuals. Doctors and psychiatrists believed that homosexuals were emotionally and psychologically ill and needed treatment. Actions that followed the Chicago Gay Liberation disruption of the AMA eventually led to the destigmatization of lesbian and gay men by the AMA and other medical and psychiatric organizations. Such organizations as American Psychiatric Association, also known as APA. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association removed homosexuality from its list of psychiatric disorders.
The Chicago Gay Liberation also hosted a significant forum. It was attended by a large number of gay rights organizations in 1972 to try and forge a national gay coalition. At this forum, discussions also centered on possible actions for gay activists during the 1972 presidential election. In 1982, Chicago's mainstream politicians and organizations became more open to gay and lesbian involvement. The openly gay candidate, Ron Sable, ran for city council and almost won. Ron Sable, MD, has been on the forefront of health and civil activism in Chicago since mid-1970s, when he first began working as an openly gay physician at the Cook County Hospital. Sable was also one of the founders of the Howard Brown Health Center, still an important AIDS service organization. The Howard Brown Health Center, HBHC, is the Midwest's premier lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, also known as LGBT, healthcare organization. It led the region in addressing the comprehensive healthcare needs of people in the LGBT community. In 1993, Sable announced in a letter that he sent to hundreds of his friends and colleagues that he is HIV positive. He was cutting back most of his organizational activities and was spending more time now with his friends and with Joe Navarez, his partner of 12 years.
Lesbian and gay men were actively involved in the mayoral campaign and administration of Harold Washington. This political work of the 1980s established lesbian and gay men as the key constituents and participants in Chicago politics, which continues today. Mayor Daley and his administration have recently recognized the contributions of lesbian and gay men to Chicago life by the designation of a section of Halsted Street on the north side as a gay neighborhood.